Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another silly car build. My vehicle today is the Porsche Carrera GT, a car that I suspect is likely to be really quite fast despite having a crazy amount of horsepower. There is actually some interesting engine options for this car. You can, as I kind of expected, be able to put in the 6-litre V12. We're not actually going to use that engine today. We can also put in the quad rotor. Wasn't expecting to be able to put the quad rotor in the Carrera GT. Now, the quad rotor is the least powerful of all the engine options for this one. The V12 is slightly more powerful, I believe, than the standard engine will get to, but we are going to use the standard V10 in the Porsche, as the V12 gets used a lot in cars in this build series. So yeah, we're going to keep with the standard engine in this one. We're going to put some twin turbos on the standard engine to start off with. Of course, we're going to be wanting anything that can give us some handling. Just anything. When it comes to... Oh, wow. Well done. Yes, we shall put a wing on top of the wing that is already there. That is totally how aerodynamics work, I think. That's fantastic. It's not quite as bad as the new Ford GT's wing, that it mounts the wing on top of where the movable one is, and the movable one still moves. At least it did. I don't know whether they fixed that. It did, certainly when the game first came out. It's always quite amusing. We're going to be wanting some race tyres on the car, most definitely, and we can get some giant race tyres, 295s. On the front. They are very large tyres, and I'm assuming we're going to have equally large. It starts off at 335, so we'll have 355s on the rear. This, I think, could beat the Lancia. I would not at all be surprised, in fact, if this goes quicker than that Lancia, considering the power we're going to have in this car. It's going to have a lot of acceleration, a lot of speed, and hopefully quite a lot of grip. I mean, we've had many cars go with phenomenal acceleration and power to weight ratios and so on, but this one is likely to actually have the control to be able to make the most of all of the power. Weight reduction, we can get it down to 3,000 pounds. I'm surprised we can't get any. I guess, I mean, it is, you know, a supercar. It is pretty stripped out to begin with. 3,000 pounds is quite heavy relatively heavy at least, for this series. But yeah, sometimes that little bit more weight can help, can give you a little bit more stability, and we should have more than enough power to overcome it. Oh, down to 3,006 pounds, although we have still got turbo upgrades and intercooler upgrades to stick on the car. Not a huge amount of engine parts to do on this vehicle, certainly not as many as some cars we have seen. However, as you can see, the power is creeping up. 936 horsepower in the Porsche, 992 horsepower. Now, in the Porsche, okay, it's not quite going to have the most crazy power to weight ratio we've seen. Hey, we've got it up into P-Class. I think this is the first P-Class vehicle that I've built in this series. 1,130 horsepower from my Carrera GT. And then we'll finish off with the race intercooler. Puts it up to 1,191 horsepower. That's a lot. That is an awful lot of horsepower. 816 foot-pounds of torque, 3,086 pounds in weight, this car. Yeah, it's up into P-Class, which is quite impressive for this. I'm hoping, I think it may have the control to make the most of all of this power. And if that is the case, this is going to be a seriously quick car. So, of course, to test out the Carrera GT, we have come to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in the pouring rain, where it will get 6 laps to try and go as fast as possible. The Lancia Beta race car may be under serious threat here. Its 49.8 second lap time could potentially be beaten by the Carrera if we have the control to deal with such a huge amount of power in this car. I mean, we've got, what, 3 times the amount of horsepower that the Lancia had in it. The Lancia has about 400 horsepower. This is, yeah, this is quite a lot of power in this car. However, we're not too bad. It's not quite the traction that I was expecting from it. Boy, we get all twitchy and out of shape. I was kind of expecting a little... We've had some of the sillier cars have had better traction than this. I know it's got a lot of power and so on. I was expecting a little bit better from the Porsche. It is very easy to get the car upset, to get the car sliding about, and I'm guessing we saw with the Lancia, with the Ford GT40, both of them were flat out coming out of this final turn. Oh, you're not going to be in the Porsche. You're really, really not going to be in the Porsche at all. However, holy crap, that is fast. It's also far quicker than anything we've had here, accelerating-wise. It's almost 170 down towards the first corner, but we're very sideways. Down turn one. Yeah, the 250LM was up to about 160, and that has pretty much the same horsepower out of this and is far lighter, and to be fair, that had probably similar traction issues. This car is stupendously fast accelerating, but the control is tricky. With so much power going through the rear wheels, even with these giant rear tyres, they are not enough, really, to keep this thing in check. Certainly not easily. You can do it. It's not the worst thing we've had control-wise, but it's certainly not the easiest. Okay, maybe the Lancia is probably going to be quite close, actually. If I can keep it together and do an ultra-clean, ultra-smooth lap, then maybe it'll be close, I think. We've got to be really very, very clean, though, with this car. I think perhaps the trick is going to be just be that little bit careful with the car. Oh, come on, don't waste time going sideways. I'm not sure if short shifting is actually quite going to work. I think there might be too much power in this, that it's just going to spin the wheels if I stick it up in fourth, so I may as well try and deal with the throttle in the lower gears. I suspect we might have to try it coming on to this start-finish straight if we are continuing to have some problems. The start-finish straight has actually been a real problem for the Porsches. This Carrera fares much better than the other cars. The bumps aren't really an issue. Oh, it's done it! It's gone quicker! I managed to get the lap together. That's fast. That's very fast around here. A 49.3 from the Porsche. It did it. I managed to keep it all together on that lap. That's a really good lap. Pleased with that one. This brutally fast car will go top of the leaderboard. Can we go any faster with it, or will we just spend more and more time going sideways? I suspect it will be the going sideways option. There is... Oh, crap, don't go on the curbs. It's not going to be a fun time. I suspect this won't roll over if we brush that curb on the inside at turn one. But the curbs can cause their own issues if it's not rolling the car over. Like, I don't want to run around the outside curb down turn one. It's very easy to spin cars down that part of the track. That's more likely to be the problem. If we hit this, we're not going to roll the car. It might lift it on two wheels slightly. It's not going to roll the car like it did with the 356. Please get stopped up here, thank you. But yeah, spinning, it could well be an issue, especially when you've got so much power through the rear wheels in the wet. Come on, get slowed, get turned in. There is kind of a little bit of understeer. It's not got the best turn-in of any vehicle I've driven, certainly. It just kind of makes up for it with with that brute force acceleration. Okay, let's try leaving it in third around here rather than changing down to second. Will we do better leaving it third? It still just wants to burst into wheel spin. Still fighting it out of there. Are we going to set a quicker lap time, though? No, we are not. So we were better doing it the way that we did it on the previous, couple of laps previous. Although they have been pretty damn consistent lap times. After the first couple of scary laps with the Porsche, yeah, it's pretty damn... I was going to say it's easy to drive. It is not, but for what it is relatively... For this much power, it is relatively controllable. Certainly far easier to drive than some of the vehicles that we have had, but it isn't quite as planted. Oh no, things are about to go wrong. They've gone wrong. It's not as planted as I thought it was. It's got so much more brutal acceleration than I was expecting, but it isn't as planted as I was expecting from it. Yeah, so we will go quicker regardless. That final lap ruined our nice little consistency run there in the middle of that. The acceleration is absurd. Just utterly ridiculous in this car. I love it. But actual control-wise, the GT40 was still much easier to drive around here. The Lancia, much easier. I mean, we could get to full throttle a couple of times around the lap. Certainly not the worst for wheel spin. And for one, if not the most powerful car, to have gone around here, yeah, it is remarkably controllable, but it isn't as planted as I'd hoped it would be. You still got to be very careful with the throttle through some of the corners and so on. Having said that, the Porsche will go to the top of the table. We have a new leader in the Carrera GT with that 49.385. It is the fastest car by over half a second ahead of that Lancia, quicker than the Ford GT40, etc. That's a quick time. Admittedly, it is also our first P-Class car in this series, but I think that's still a pretty damn good time for the Carrera, considering, you know, it's still a fair bit of a handful through the corners. Now it is time, though, to see how quick this will go in a straight line, and considering the brutal acceleration around here, I think this might be quite impressive. And of course, to find out just how impressive, we have come to the Le Mans circuit. Now, our current fastest car down here has been the Ferrari 250 LM at 268 miles an hour. That is an awful lot of speed. Will the Carrera, though, be able to get near that? It might get quite close, judging by its acceleration. Okay, apparently from standard, not quite so much. Let's go and take the aero parts off the vehicle. It does look like it has some relatively short gear ratios. That might explain, might help why it has good acceleration at Brands Hatch. Once you can get the power down, that's a very short gear ratios. Yeah, if you can get the power down and get the acceleration at the short straight at Brands Hatch, hence why it was doing 200 and near enough 170 miles an hour. Sorry, there. Whereas the 250 LM was doing 160 and so on. But here it does not look like 257.9 looks about as fast as we're going to be getting it. That way, nope, that's not going to work. So sort of somewhere around about there. Yeah, 257.9. Okay, we're going to be, well, potentially 10 miles an hour down on the 250 LM if we can make the most of the Le Mans straight. I would expect this car to be able to, certainly it'll get up to 200 miles an hour very, very quickly. Getting past that, I don't know. I don't know how quickly it's going to get to its top speed. I would imagine, though, it will probably do it from its performance at Brands Hatch. I would imagine it'll probably do it quite quickly. Around these turns in the dry, it is still quite a scary, slidey power car, basically. It's not bad to drive, though. Having said that, I'm going to chuck it all away through there. I think this is one of these cars that is going so fast you don't quite realise how fast you are approaching a corner until you've broken far too late, and then you're trying to chuck it in with so much speed. It just simply doesn't work. I think that's it's not really the car's fault, that's my poor driving, really. Right, we're on to the straight. We're going to be doing 200 miles an hour as we take the corner to enter the straight. 225 as we change up into 6th gear. That's some phenomenal acceleration. Getting up to that speed so quickly in this car, but now we start to struggle a little bit getting up to the 250 mile an hour mark. Come on, we're looking for 257 miles an hour. Can the Carrera GT do that? 257, up to 255, couple more would be nice. 256. One more mile an hour for you, Porsche. It's not going to do it, I don't think. No, 256 is all we're going to get. Oh, we got a big bump. That's not what you want to have happen. I think I might have taken a slightly too tighter a line through that part of the course. The front of the car lifted up at 250 miles an hour. That is not what you want your car to be doing through there. I thought we were going to be fine across the bumps. Not quite. They are very, very nasty down there. And yeah, that was not a good line to be taking in this car. But we did get up to the 256 mile an hour mark, which is very, very fast. Let's not forget that. It is not, though, going to take the place of the fastest of the city car builds. That still belongs to the 250 LM. And this doesn't actually beat the Lotus 11. Despite the Lotus 11's bonkers flying, wheeling craziness, that was still a couple of miles an hour faster than this Carrera GT. But the Porsche will go into third place on the speed table, and perhaps slightly more importantly, importantly, there we go, that was the English that we're going for, the Carrera is the quickest car around the very wet Brands Hatch circuit. Yeah, a rather phenomenal accelerating car. Its top speed is not quite as impressive as we have seen from some. The way it gets to sort of 200 miles an hour, 220 miles an hour is yeah, really rather fast. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.